You should not overthink the process of making beats. Just see it through. You may not be good now, but in the future you will get better. Practice does make perfect. Hey guys, what's going on? So today I'm going to help you guys make chord progressions. And this is for those of you that aren't exactly familiar with music theory or are just new to beat making. All right, without further ado, let's just hop straight into it. So starting off, the idea is by the end of today, you'll go from something like this to something like this. So the first thing you need to know about making chords is that chords are made out of triads, and triads consist of 3 notes. The most important of which being your bass notes, because your bass notes are used to create bass lines. Also, you can build melodies off of your bass notes. So for making major and minor chords, what you want to do is you want to place your keys every 2 spaces or every 3 spaces. These chords right here have keys every 2 or 3 spaces. And that's how you go about making triads. That should simplify it enough. So this right here is just a basic progression. But what we want to do is we want to spice it up. So certain tips that you can use for your progressions is moving the actual chords closer together. So whenever I condense it, it looks like this now. You know, there's a different rhythm to it now. This is good, but this is still fairly basic. So what we're going to do now is we're going to move these bass notes by holding Shift and Option and then press on the down key. It's going to move them down an octave. Now if you're satisfied with that, what you can do is you can either add in another instrument or you can continue to build off of this. That's exactly what we're going to do right now. Hey guys, Nate from the future. I should also mention that we're strictly using all the white keys today. For those of you that want to know what scale that would be, that is the C scale. C scale, all the white keys, it's all you got to know. Also, once you figure out the scale that you're in, what you can do is you can move these top notes around in any arrangement in your scale. That helps with building your melodies and changing the progression. So right now, these 2 first chords sound like this. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate them right now. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to change these top notes right here, these top notes, and I'm going to keep them in the scale, but I'm just going to show you the difference that it makes with your progressions. Just by changing those top notes, I completely change the sound of the chords. And so whenever you're making your melodies, you will build off of the same scale and continue to use those white keys. So you can do something like this. Just like that, guys, we have a melody. I always say that when you're adding in a top melody, that less is more. So just keep that in mind. You don't always have to overdo it. Sometimes subtlety takes your beat a lot further. And so with that, we end up with something like this. And you can see for yourself, I didn't add that much. I mean, I only added a few notes on top of the progression we already have. And it just continues to evolve. Now, another thing you can do is, if you look right here, there's this button that says Smart Snap. What you can do is you can turn that off. Yeah, you can go to your chords, and then you can slightly take them off time, and this will make them sound humanized. See how much of a difference it makes versus this right here? And that's not the only way you can make patterns. So there's different types of patterns actually, and I'm going to go ahead and show you guys that right now. You can also get patterns like this, where instead of 4 chords, we're using 3. See, it's extremely basic. And then for the last pattern, this pattern right here only even has 2 chords, right? And so you see this pattern right here only has 2 chords, and yet look at what we can do with it. Again, using the same method, just by humanizing it and then adding top melodies. Now I'm going to go over it again, what it takes to make an actual triad. Okay, and so again, a triad starts with your bass note, and then you have 2 more keys on top. You have 7 steps counting from your bass notes. So the way you make a triad is you start with the bass note, C being our bass note for this chord, and then you build off of it. Notice there's 3 spaces in between, and then there's two spaces, and that makes a major, right? If I wanted to make a minor, all I would have to do is move this one down, and then minor, just like that. Just like that. Again, the majors and minors don't necessarily matter. All you have to know is that it sounds different, of course, but it also gives off a different emotion. That's all you really have to know. One other thing, if you're having trouble, right, you don't know where to start, just remember this, that every triad is 7 keys away from one another. So this right here, C, is 7 keys away from G. So we'll count together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'll give another example. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Right? So it's going to go here. I just got to figure out this one. Notice, see, still the same thing. 2 spaces, 3 spaces. Let's go ahead and play it and see if it sounds good together. Okay, so they clearly don't sound that good together. What we can do, though, is we can fiddle around with what we know. Let's try to match this note right here with this one. So let's move this one down. Let's see what it sounds like. So it still doesn't sound good. What I'm going to do is I'm going to move this bass note down 1. And then you can see again there's that pattern, that 3-2 or that 2-3, right? And that's what you're looking for. Let's see if this sounds good now. Look at that. And I understand music theory, but you don't need music theory to understand this. Again, I'm going to show another example. So if we look at this chord right here, what's missing? The 2-3. So let's move this one up. I don't like it, so I'm going to move this one up. Still got that 3-2, that 3-2 spacing. That's what we want. I'm going to move it back down. And just like that. And again, we're going to go ahead and move these bass notes down to make the chord progression sound more full. Let's say you're satisfied with your chord progression, but you just don't like the key that it's in. After you're done with all your melodies, select all your tracks, right? And then you're just going to transpose them down. And then they should all be in the same key. So again, all you have to do is just select them, option, and then down. And just like that, guys. Making chord progressions is simple. You don't have to overthink it. Just do it. And if you don't understand, keep trying. It will pop in there. I promise. All right. Thank you.